We ready?
Yeah.
All right. Hey, welcome back to an all-new mini-episode of Hold My Popcorn. I'm Max Ely in Nashville. Timmy Boy's traveling for work, so it's just me and John this week. How are you, buddy?
The Sacramento masturbator is bone dry. I think we hit like negative 1% humidity the other day, so I woke up and I couldn't breathe. But how are you?
Doing better than that.
Yeah.
Well, as we begin to transition back to normal life here in the States, more and more people are beginning to visit theaters, sporting events, restaurants, and family and friends. But one thing remains the same, and that's not having enough shit to watch at home. So this week, John and I are going to give you a few streaming recommendations based off of what we've been watching recently.
Yeah, the world's still ending, and we've exhausted the entirety of the internet. But at least, as I understand it, the rest of the world has been propping us up in our entertainment needs recently. I still can't watch things, that have subtitles unless I'm really invested or staring at the television because you can't eat and do it at the same time. But appreciate it, Korea. You're really holding it together and finally figured out the zombies are cool, and I'm down with it. So
my wife and I now watch everything on subtitles, and that's just any language. We've just gone to that point now. Yeah. It just makes it so much easier.
It does.
You don't have to rewind it. You don't have to say, what did they say? It's like, just read it. You either read it or don't.
Just throw it up there. Yeah. Just throw it up there, man. I mean, you throw the written language up there and, it doesn't have any, you can't quite tell how upset somebody is. But sometimes you're just a little bit too fucked up to hear what's going on and somehow you can read it better. That doesn't make any sense to me, but there you are.
That also does happen too. Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So for my selections, though, I didn't pick any super popular or trendy movies or TV just because I think everyone's already aware of the Marvel movies and TV shows. Or The Handmaid's Tale. Everybody knows what the fuck that is. So
I don't know what those are.
Oh, okay, that's fine. That'll be in the next episode. But so instead, this basic bitch over here, I'm just gonna be going for some more just niche and obscure stuff. But my three picks are gonna be broken down into animation, documentary, and then one film. And first up is going to be the animated series Castlevania on Netflix.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have Mark, who was in my wedding. He won't talk to me because I haven't actually finished the first season. So we're no longer friends, which is unfortunate. But yeah.
I can understand Mark's frustration. The first season's only 4 episodes long. You should just get through it.
I should just get the fuck through it. I should. But I have a procrastination issue.
It takes about 4 episodes for it to start getting good, too.
So it takes the entire first season to get through it. Okay.
Yep.
That's kind of a long time to wait for something to develop into, a wonderful, blossoming thing that you're going to fuck.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like 4 episodes, half an hour, about. You can get it. You can get through it in a week.
Okay.
But I'll tell you why. Hopefully this will sell you on it too. So, me myself, as you know, we lived together for a couple of years. I am not a huge anime guy. Historically, I've always found it kind of a little uncomfortable to watch. I think there's just some weird undertones of the weird porn pop-up shit that comes up that's anime that is just subconsciously in my head. So I always just want to stay away from it. I think
tentacles, dude. Yeah. Always tentacles.
No thanks. And every single person looking exactly the same with big eyes and triangle faces. But
yeah,
I think the only show growing up that I watched that was anime was Pokemon. So, I mean, it goes back. But this wasn't a recommendation, but I watched Invincible on Amazon, which was fucking phenomenal. And that kind of got me into the anime influence programming. It's kind of like a gateway into it.
Oh, so Castlevania actually came from Invincible. No kidding. Okay. As far as your interest.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. It's making sense.
So I'll give, for the listeners too, I'll give a little background on Castlevania for any of you who aren't familiar. So it's a long running video game series, debuted back in 1986. I think the most recent game was 2019. And basically all the games just revolve around vampire hunters just killing demons and vampires. And the show is basically the same thing.
Huh. Now, let me ask you this, since I know a little bit about it. Does I guess he's not even quite the main character, but the human character who's from a long lineage of,
Belmont.
Yes, Belmont, which is super funny considering you're down the street from Belmont. Are there any vampire hunters that are over there, or do they just stay in church all day long?
Just racist Christian conservatives over there.
Oh, okay. Well, we're back on the woke list. Thanks for that, Max. But does Belmont, does he get a little more hardcore? Because like obviously he has the potential to like just rock souls, but there was a little bit of weird shit in the first season. I'm like, all right, I know you're a badass, but like, can you just like put the ale down for a moment and just like go out there and rip a head off? Come on.
So eventually he has to put the ale down because it's just nonstop demons coming at him. And he meets a few other people that they kind of band together, and then he just starts fucking ripping heads and ripping out throats. And there's a scene, like, I think in season 3 when he goes into a town and he's like talking to this girl and he's just, I'm talking like this because I'm Trevor Belmont and I'm very gritty. And then he just sees beer and he just sprints over to the beer and just starts drinking all of it. He goes, oh my God. He just runs over.
Oh gosh. Well, that would be really good if he was in Soul Calibur. I feel like this guy needs to actually make it into that video game. I mean, like we already got fucking Darth Vader in there. Why not throw this guy in there? Come on. So
I guess in the series too, the Belmonts are like a reoccurring character. It's like the whole generation by generation in the video games. So the show, he's the last one remaining because the church pretty much killed off everybody else because it was witchcraft.
Oh, of course. Of course. The church knows best, everybody.
Yeah, the church is the villains of the show. They're worse than the blood-sucking vampires and, demon makers. But as I was mentioning earlier, too. So, I mean, the first 4 episodes takes a little bit to get into. Also, like, the animation style's slow. Like, they kind of move slow, and it's kind of choppy, which takes a while to get used to. But then you learn to appreciate it because it does a great job of blending, like, beauty with carnage. So you'll have these like beautiful watercolor like landscapes that are just very real, or like, really realistic shots of 13th century villages. That's beautiful. Like I paused it a few times just to show my wife, like, look how nice this looks. She's like, oh,
I'm
nice.
sure she's so proud of you. Hey, yeah, exactly. Well, you look at this anime picture. Oh, Max.
But then it like that stuff is great. And then they'll go like, and then it goes along with like these extremely detailed and graphic violence shots. Especially too to the point when like one of the characters will just dish out some like super turbo boost attack where everything gets kicked into like 5th gear, and the show goes like full manga with all these like acid trip firework explosions of like ultra violence, which is great. It's like I get it now.
Now, ultra-violent anime is something special. And I've been searching for years. And any listeners who happen to pick this episode up, like there was some old like sci-fi anime back in the day that like some tentacles were involved, okay, but they were aliens, so I get it. But it was like, I mean, people just getting their faces shredded and shit, lots of big guns, big tanks, all this kind of shit. And I've been trying to find some of this, and I haven't been able to find it ever since. So let me know if there's anything out there. So Castlevania.
Yeah, there's been multiple times in which I've just out loud to myself just went, oh my God. Just because it is just horrific. But besides the dark storyline, there's a lot of beautiful character development too. Like you really learn to love the characters. Like I was sad when the show ended because I'm like, I already missed them. Like they do such a good job of just developing them. Very pleasant surprise.
Well, let me ask you, Max. I mean, so how many seasons are out now?
So it just wrapped up. The 4th season just wrapped up.
Okay. How fast did you blow through these 4 seasons? Because it seems like it happened over the course of a weekend.
So that's a good question. So that was actually something I was going to say. This show is good to watch. Like do 1 or 2 episodes a day. Don't binge through it all. Like appreciate it. It's a nice slow burn. You'll like it a lot more. If you just bang them all out in like one weekend, it's just going to be a complete blur. And you're not going to remember it a few days later. But I mean, I think, when did I initially tell you about it? It was a couple of weeks ago, right?
Yeah, I'd say so. So, wow. So a few weeks and you busted through. Is it like, does it average kind of like 4 to 5 episodes a season?
No. So the first season's like 4 episodes and then it goes, I think, to 10 after that going forward.
Oh, wow. That escalated. Huh.
And then I guess the last thing too I'll say about Castlevania is, I was watching, I'm like, all right, is this like dubbed? What the fuck is it? It's American made. The animation company's in Texas. Like it's American writers. The guy who made I forget. We're fucking exhausted. But
here we are.
I forget. It's guys like he's a video game and like comic book writer. But
okay.
Anyway.
And now I will give it this before I jump into my pick. Is that this was an interesting blend from what I'd seen of Western animation with, stereotypical kind of East Asian Japanese anime, where they blended a little bit of those. So you've got West and East together. It's heavier on the Japanese side, but that worked out really, really well. And aesthetically for me, I've always preferred the Western take on things. It's like, okay, yeah, the triangle faces, the big eyes. Like I didn't like that as much, except in Pokemon, because fuck yeah, catching them all, dude. But this was a really, really interesting kind of, just halfway point between those. So, I'm honest to God, I'm very, very excited to finish an entire 6-pack tonight and actually start watching this again. So
good.
I think you sold me.
Also, talk about metal. The show is metal as fuck. There is just some.
Oh, hell yeah.
Carnage is a good way to describe it. There's just some horrific, great, just disgusting shit.
Well, like the intro of that, isn't it just Dracula going off the deep end because his wife gets killed
his
and
human
like
wife
just
gets
fucking
crucified
massacre,
or whatever.
Boom, massacre. So yeah, it's a good way to start off. I like that. I like a good couple gallons of blood to start my day off, and that's what I need today, especially on a thirsty Thursday.
So, there is one great line too. So without giving away too much, the villain of like the first season's a cardinal, and he's like praying in the church. Everyone's getting fucking butchered and murdered outside. And then these demons bust in and he's like, "You can't be in here. This is God's house." And then the demon goes, "God left here a long time ago." He's like, "Yeah, get him,
dude,
get him."
He's gone, man. He left y'all after like the 15th crusade. It's all over. Y'all are fucked. Like, y'all didn't get the goddamn memo. Guess what? Fire the Pope.
I'm speaking through God. My work is devoted to God. God laughs at your work.
Yeah, I feel like we need a few people to say that kind of shit on public television these days. That'd be fantastic.
But then my sub recommendation, which kind of ties into this, will just be Blade, the first Blade movie. Watched that recently. Still good.
Oh, yeah, it holds up.
Yep.
And even the second one with Ron Perlman, I still have, that's a special place in my heart too. I saw that one before the first one because I was able to be sneaked into the theaters. So underage, of course. I wish I could say like I lost my virginity to that movie or something, but that wouldn't be true.
Be weird.
That would be a little weird. Yeah, I don't want to talk about the first time.
No,
so I've got 3 films. I'm going documentary, movie, and then documentary.
Okay.
So right off the top, going with documentary, this is A Robbery, the world's biggest art heist. The director, Colin Barnacle. That's a very, very unfortunate last name. Sorry, buddy. At least you made it through middle school. But this is the big heist that happened in fucking Boston, dude. So all
Gardner
the
Museum?
Rembrandts,
Yep.
all that shit, dude, intense. Like we still haven't found these paintings yet. Like I think the big painting that left was like Jesus in the Sea of Galilee kind of a thing. And huge painting gone along with all of these other things, but you've got it all here. So you're in Boston. So you got the accents, you got the Irish mob, you got the Italian mob, you got a guy, an ex like art thief who like he's being interviewed and he's like, yeah, maybe or maybe not. I held some of these paintings in a trailer in my backyard. And I'm talking like a big semi trailer. And the interviewer's like, oh, so that trailer in the background? No, it's not that trailer. No, it's no trailer. Well, that trailer in the back, I don't know what you're talking about. And this thing's sitting behind him and the guy's already still like, nah, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. But
it's like nice spotlights on it.
Yeah, there's like spotlights on it. It's like, nope, completely deny. You
mean the trailer that's on fire? What?
So like, just like that, like all of these fucking characters, I mean, you got, and just how they went through this and like the mystery of it and like, where it could possibly be. My bet is Saudi Arabia, because if you got all the money, that's what I'd be fucking doing. But just like a really, really, really fun, true crime that doesn't have to involve like somebody getting their uterus ripped out through the throat. It's just like, it's not crazy murder, for a change, which I love constantly. That's all I surround myself with: murder, blood, all kinds of bullshit. But like this was just a good change of pace. You get a little bit of the Ocean's 11 vibe. I had a lot of fun with the security guard who actually was on, he was guarding the museum the night that all of this shit happened. And like, these 15 pieces or so, like a priceless artwork just walked out the front door. And he's like the biggest fucking hippie ever. So naturally, like everybody in the documentary is like, this guy fucking did it. He didn't, but it's really worth everybody's time. Something different if you're into the true crime genre. And also if you just want to get smacked in the face with some absolutely fucking fantastic accents that are frankly dying out. Just really, really fun. I'm pretty sure even Whitey Bulger gets a fucking shout out at some point there.
I'm sure he does.
But, I thought his business was more so fucking illicit substances, not exactly artwork. But
he used to run all the vending machines too.
Oh, you're running all the vending machines. Dude, that quarter money, I'm telling you.
It's a good way to funnel money through too.
Seriously, if nothing else, just put all that in a sock and beat someone to death with it. I mean, that'll work out just as well.
Yeah.
But really interesting piece to this. And before I just let you move into your next one, because everybody just needs to go see it. It's a documentary. What am I going to say? But this whole idea, and this is kind of a theme throughout it, is that some allegedly, some organized crime organizations will actually hold on to priceless artwork as a get out of jail free card, because there is apparently a little bit of precedent, not legal precedent, but where somebody got in a jam and they said, hey, tell you what, you let our boy out, this piece of artwork is going to show up on your front doorstep. Not to, give to the cop as a bribe, but just like the government cares so much about priceless artwork that they're literally down to let like a quadruple murderer, racketeer shit out of jail just to get priceless artwork back, which is a little bit weird to me. And I guess I understand it. And I have been to the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam before, which was spectacular. And still, I wouldn't let the fucking Godfather out of jail over a piece of art. I'm sorry. But very interesting stuff. Totally worth checking out, especially if you got time for a documentary. Also really, really good for couples. Something for everybody in this. But have you
What's
seen
the name of it
Max?
again? No, I'm going to write it down. What's the name of it again?
So This is a Robbery.
Okay.
The world's biggest art heist.
Okay. I'm writing
Totally
it down
worth your fucking
on
time.
the list.
Totally worth your fucking time. Totally worth your fucking time. I was expecting to see one of your family members walking around in the background going,
They might be. We'll find
They
out.
might be. We don't know. Maybe they stole it. We don't know, Max. Yeah, I know, right? Jesus. Wasn't it one of your people like just saw him in a bar after he was on the run like for years and he was just like, oh, hey, buddy. And just like walks by. He would show up in Boston every once in a while.
Yeah.
Obviously, your folks were just in the neighborhood. So, of course, they
grew up with them.
They
grew up in the projects with them. Yep. Fun times.
Max says, we're moving on.
Those people are still alive. But yeah, we used to go there for field trips back in like elementary school. And I mean, I'm sure it's in the documentary, but like they left the blank painting there. Like, you can still see like the outlines of where the paintings were.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's my first one. Go for it.
All right. So my second pick is going to be, it's kind of cheating. These are two documentaries, but it's going to be In the Search of Darkness, parts 1 and 2 on Shudder and AMC Plus. So what this is, it's a extremely comprehensive look at horror movies from the 80s. All about me, like I'm all about that, but
synth with a little bit of synth.
The intro is just synth and like neon lights. I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm sold. How long is this thing? 4.5 hours? Fine by me. But extremely comprehensive, as I mentioned. But it features interviews with the actors, directors, producers, and the special effects people, and like some fans, and writers and whatever else. Like Fangoria has a big part of it. So it's 4.5 hours long. It's a nice way to kill time, pun intended. Yeah. The doc covers in all horror movies from the 80s in chronological order as well. So it starts in 1980, goes all the way through 89.
So that would have captured The Thing, in which case, the remake, of course.
And John Carpenter's in both documentaries multiple times because, I mean, he fucking ruled the 80s. That's when the last time that was his heyday. I mean, The Fog, The Thing.
Oh, of course.
God damn! What's the other one?
He did
Roddy Piper.
Didn't he do a vampire one?
Yeah, he did vampires in the 90s.
Oh, that was the 90s. Okay.
He did some other one too in the 80s with Donald Pleasance as well that I'm drawing a blank on right now. But it's a good way. Like I would suggest watching that again in like increments. So like do like 20 to 45 minutes at a time. Because otherwise you might get a headache from just like watching nonstop like blood and screaming and women getting murdered.
Not me, baby. Not me. I'm all about it all day long, man. The louder the scream, the better.
But they'll spend a few minutes on each movie and they'll have a couple of snippets, like a couple of clips of the movie too. So it's a good way to get a good understanding of movies that you haven't seen. You can kind of understand what they're about. Or if there's a movie that you've wanted to see, you can see a couple of clips and have people talk about it and be like, okay, that sounds like something I'm wanting to watch. Or like, this looks fucking terrible. Or, I really want to watch this movie. I'm going to fast forward because they're going to spoil it, because it is laid out with spoilers too.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this. Do they go into, and it was different in the 80s. It seemed like, everybody would just jump into a horror movie. Like Kurt Russell was already a huge star and he jumped into the thing, huge horror movie. Like, all right, good. But like, to talk about how later in the decades, so to speak, folks tend to get their start in horror. Like for instance, like Alexandra Daddario, who's in True Detective.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons. And, but like she got her start in like, The Wrong Turn or some shit like that, just some shitty ass horror movie. Same thing like Jennifer, I don't fucking know. But anyways, like it seems like a lot of people actually get. Well, Jennifer Aniston, who's the other one?
Jennifer Love Hewitt, but she had that show too.
Yeah. Anyways, but like a lot of folks seem to like just get their start in a shitty ass horror movie these days. Like I'm talking like 2000 and beyond. Like, was there anything covered?
I think they have it covered on directors, because a lot of directors also start in horror because it's so cheap, and it's usually a lot of them. I mean, most of them are fucking terrible, but they're very cheap to make, and they can make money off of them. So they have like, that's where they'll have the producers and directors kind of come in and talk about like how they got their start, or like what was their influences. They'll go back into like, John Carpenter will be talking about like alien invasion movies of the 50s, which ties into They Live, which is like a movie in 1988 about aliens ruling the world, and you can't see it, and like nobody is aware of it. And another thing too that they do is a good way to kind of break down the pacing of it is they'll break off into like minor segments after pretty much every year. So they'll go from 81 into 82. In the middle, they'll have a segment on like practical effects or like scream queens. So they'll have just interviews with multiple scream queens, like women that have been in multiple horror movies, or the history behind like Dirty Nasty, like what that means. So that those are like the VHS movies that were like banned in countries for whatever reason. So they'll talk about that history too, or like the socio-political motifs of certain movies and all that. Like it is the most comprehensive. If you've ever wanted to know anything about 80s horror movies, just watch that. I mean, I've been watching it for like a year because they have two of them. So like I'll just be having breakfast on a weekend, watching it for like 15 minutes, and Nikki will walk by. I'm like, "You're still watching this?" I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be watching this for like months.
So how much of this did you watch on my Shudder subscription? That's what I need to know.
I watched the first one all on your Shudder subscription. I am into like 1983 on part 2 through your Shudder subscription.
Okay. FYI, it expires in August.
Well, shit.
Fuck.
Well, then I'll have to start paying for it. You can use mine.
and then I'll borrow yours.
I ran out of free passwords or free emails.
You've had 3 emails you've created for that shit?
I think I've had 4. Yeah. I've used my work ones. I've used personal ones. I've used the podcast one. I mean, everything that I could possibly do. I've had a good 6, I think maybe almost 6 months worth of free 30-month trials.
Dude. Millennials do fuck everything up. So like, let's take stock right now. We fucked up, let's see, the housing market, bar soap, and now streaming services. So that's something that we can wear as a badge of honor, is that capitalism does not impact us. We find ways around it. Land of the Brave.
So, and then for my sub recommendation, though, which is also another documentary, it's going to be Class Action Park on HBO Max.
What the fuck? Oh, is this the one that Johnny Knoxville did his like mock movie on? Basically, it's a place in Jersey, right? Yeah. Where it was just like no rules,
out of control.
Like 16-year-olds were managing the park and they were just, fucking drunk, smash stupid stones kind of a thing. Yeah.
Trying to build, them building slides without putting any kind of actual like logic or like,
no physics, no engineering.
No physics whatsoever. Just completely
no protractors,
using
nothing.
like Newton's theory of laws and all that shit. Like, it's like, oh, we're going to do a whole spin. It's like, that doesn't make sense the way it goes. You're going to just tip upside down and fall backwards and get stuck in it. And then the whole stories about people getting stuck in there. Or people suffocating and dying. Like, it's like a fucking shit show.
Only in Jersey.
It reminds me a lot of the Ric Flair 30 for 30 documentary, because the first 2 acts are fucking hilarious debauchery. And then the third act is like all the repercussions of just the 80s, pretty much.
Yeah, we had a few decades that we're still working off. to be honest. Let's be real honest. We got some boomers at the very top right now that are probably still going through withdrawals from the 80s. So, yeah.
Including our last president.
Indeed. But such wonderful skin.
Handsome man.
Very small hands.
So handsome.
Okay. So you blew out those 2 documentaries, and then I'm going to go into my movie in which case. So this one is called I Care a Lot. So Netflix through and through, it came out, a few months ago. I was a little bit hesitant to watch it, but it turned out being an absolute fucking gem. But stars Rosamund Pike and Peter Dinklage as far as the big headliners for this movie. Of course, Peter is always going to, just draw my love. He's fucking fantastic. He can act in anything. And
he's got to play the Toxic Avenger. They're remaking the Toxic Avenger, and he's going to be the star of it. Yeah.
Dude, fuck yeah. I mean, what he has done, just for people is fantastic because he never, and, I'll get back into the movie and I'll get off the fucking soapbox in a second, but I had seen something about him and it was just a little kind of 5 minutes, just okay, let's talk about Pete. And he just never settled. He refused anything stereotypical, as far as what, a dwarf would play. Kind of a deal. Obviously, he always had a very, good sense of humor about it because, the first time most folks saw him was in Elf, where he just fucking tackles what's his face, and that was fucking great. So, he's got a good sense of humor. He's a mean elf. Oh my god! But just wonderful. And knowing that he was in this, that's actually what got me into the movie because, and I'm going to go into a little bit of a synopsis for this, but. Basically, you're looking at a crooked legal guardian who drains the savings of her elderly wards. She meets her match when a woman she tries to swindle turns out to be more than she first appears. So that's what I stole from IMDb. But basically, you've got a badass lady who just goes full on, Jack Nicholson. I want my environment to be a product of me. She plays hardball fucking 24/7. She drinks little baby espressos, dresses impeccably well, and has the hair of a fucking Greek goddess. She also happens to like ladies, FYI, so that's kind of fun. And she goes up against the fucking Russian mob without blinking. And I shit you not. I mean, that was what was so amazing about her character is that it's just she's getting ready to be killed at some point. She's like, all right, go ahead, kill me. Fuck off.
She plays a great, composed psychopath. I mean,
hell yeah,
Gone
dude.
Girl. I'm never going to look at her ever the same.
Oh, I still haven't watched that yet.
You haven't seen Gone Girl?
No, dude.
Oh, man.
Lisa has. I have not. I still haven't seen it.
I've seen it a few times now. I saw that in theaters. Nikki and I rewatched it during COVID. It's so fucking good.
But this is everything is just is timing. For instance, I mean, yeah, she's got the Nespresso machine that's far more expensive than anybody should ever possibly have, in her fucking personal office kind of a deal.
Familiar
But
with that machine.
This big double barrel, big dick swinging vape that she fucking has where she pulls it out of her purse. And I mean, you could defend your home. You could beat someone to death with this fucking vape. Just really weird little pieces like that. And then of course the size of Peter Dinklage's fucking goatee in this is a little bit disgusting. But I want it. I really do fucking want it. Yeah, I'm starting to. I'm trying to. But really, if you like Guy Ritchie movies, funny enough, this really is for you. The cinematography is somewhat similar with quick pans with the sound effect that goes with it, where it's we're looking at this person, they say something intense and it goes and then goes to the next person. Lots of that. You have to put things together a little bit, but very similar to a Guy Ritchie movie. And then funny enough, it's actually almost the exact same structure as a movie also similar to Guy Ritchie films for folks who like Guy Ritchie films, but Layer Cake in 2004 with
The
Daniel
ending.
Craig, directed by Matthew Vaughn. This, and watch it. Have you seen it yet, Max?
So my wife was, I'm mentioning her a lot this show, but my wife was watching
you're
it
in
while
love.
we were recording. So I saw the last 10 minutes after I came downstairs. I'm like, oh, this reminds me of Layer Cake.
Yes. So the ending to a T, the exact same ending in a sense. very much in the beginning and throughout. So if you like layer cake, if you know what that is, I mean, you would probably very much enjoy this. And you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And like Lisa, my wife, didn't believe me that I thought it was like, oh, this is the same movie, but not in a bad way. It's just like the similar formula. But it just really fucking works out. It's just like, okay, you start here, meteoric rise, and then, well, we see how it fucking ends. But just fucking fantastic. Just command performance from Rosamund. She is just wonderful in this film. And, you know, it is a tough thing to start off. And like, I had a lot of trouble because it does involve, you know, the abuse of elderly folk, it's tough at the beginning. It really is tough until, you know, someone starts to push back. And then, so like get through the first third, even if it leaves a bad taste in your mouth, and then everything falls into place and you're highly invested just because you're going to look to see whether or not Rosamund is just going to get her shit rocked or she's going to come out on top. Depends how you feel, you know, maybe you're on her side, maybe you're not. And then of course, when Peter shows up, he is just something else, especially seeing him on the big gymnast you know, hoops. Like there's some scene like one of his like underlings walks in, you know, spoiler alert, he's in the fucking Russian mob, go figure. And he's like perfectly balancing himself on these fucking things. And it's just it's a wild thing. Wonderful use of Peter and all of his talents. And he does hold a gun at one point. He does not touch his dick. I wish he would, because I think that he's got a fucking ball peen hammer under there. Fucking tripod. Yeah. But
a normal head. He probably got a normal dick.
I'm saying, dude, well, I'm not going to talk about the size of Trump's hands. That would get too political. But that's my second pick. So that'll be my movie, and then I'll bounce back to another documentary in a bit.
All right, cool. All right, so my third recommendation is going to be the Mystery Science Theater 3000, the movie, which is streaming.
What the fuck?
Yeah. You know Mystery Science Theater. Yeah.
Well, no, I know Mystery Science Theater.
Yeah, the movie came out in 96.
Back in the day. What? And it's a movie?
Yeah, they had a movie. Came out in 96. It's streaming on Hulu right now. So, I mean, this show, we're kind of nearing towards the end of COVID, but this was a great show to watch during COVID when you just missed watching movies with your friends talking. So, it's a good little blend there. I hadn't seen this movie since I was probably in like 5th grade, and I rewatched it again about like a month or two ago, and it was still good. It held up. So what they're doing though, they're mocking the 1955 Universal movie This Island Earth, which was a moderate hit at the time. And it's about these huge, you might know what it is. So it's about these huge 4-headed aliens who they come to Earth, and then they bring 2 scientists back to their planet to help them, like, you know, end their war. They kind of look like the Mars Attacks aliens.
I've seen that. I saw that. I grew up on all the old school sci-fi, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep. I love you. I love you so fucking hard right now. Look in my eyes. Make eye contact.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, buddy.
Getting steamy on this podcast. Ooh.
Fucking hell.
Cool it down.
Okay.
One of the aliens from that movie is at the Universal, like, shitty cafeteria at like Universal Studios in Florida. Like, it's in a case. And I remember we were there in January of 2020, right before COVID hit. And I remember I wanted to go there specifically because I love the Universal monsters. I love all the old school shit. Like the creature of the Black Lagoon's my boy. And we were just like walking around in there. The food's fucking terrible. The service was awful. It was probably would never go back. But that one of those aliens was in there, like in a huge case, like a full size. I'm like, hey, that's the alien from Mystery Science Theater 3000, the movie. My wife's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
She is so patient with you.
Well, this is why she just doesn't listen to anything I say. I'm starting to understand it now. When she's like, wait, we should do this. I'm like, I just said that like a minute ago. It's like, oh, you did? I'm now starting to understand why she doesn't always listen. She is kind of tuning in and out. But
sometimes you got to protect your own personal sanity, sometimes. Just maybe.
So also the movie's PG-13. So it's, they're not on the Sci-Fi Channel. So they're able to get away with some extra stuff, like a little more mature jokes and things like that. And then also the last thing that's just kind of funny about it is that This Island Earth actually made more money at the box office than it made more money in the box office in 1955 than Mystery Science Theater 3000 did in 1996.
Holy fucking shit. Really?
Yeah.
And this is like adjusted for inflation and everything?
No, I think it was just straight up. So I think that movie
Holy
But it's not even that much. So, I mean, the movie in 1955, it made like 1.6 million, and then Mystery Science Theater 3000 made 1 million.
Cost 1.5 to make. Yeah. Whoops. God, I still didn't, wasn't there like a reboot of Mystery Science Theater 3000 or whatnot? And it has, what's the comedian's name?
Patton Oswalt's one of
Patton Oswalt. He plays one of the bad guys, air quotes, kind of, so to speak.
I couldn't do it.
The antagonist. And I would never go near it. No.
So I know who the other human person is in that too. This used to be on the Nerdist podcast back in the day. Jonah.
Okay.
But it's just not the same. I mean, so the other thing too, though. So I mean, the show, they had 2 different hosts back in the 90s. But they both were, they had their own type of comedy. I mean, I should give Jonah a chance since I actually, I don't mind him as a podcaster, but I haven't been able to do it.
No, it's tough. Well, I mean, honestly, podcast versus being live. I mean, let's face it, like some folks just have a fucking face for radio, or they just, that's their strength. That's the way it is. And like, let's face it, you're the only pretty one on this fucking show. So,
well, I think with him is just, he's monotoned. So that doesn't bring much to when you're just watching a movie and they're making commentary and he's just, everything he's saying is just like this. Like there's no fluctuation or pitch and tone.
Yeah, so once again, we were talking about how in an entire generation, some folks are probably still getting over the withdrawals, from cocaine addiction and so on, everything else that was out there, including the Quaaludes. I actually had an uncle myself who laughed at me about Quaaludes, and he said, hey, you saw that movie Wolf of Wall Street? I was like, yeah, and he goes, guess what? You're never going to have those.
Nope.
He's right. I had them all.
Nikki has an uncle that we call him Uncle Quaalude. Because he did all of them in the 80s. Fucking all of them.
At this day and age, honestly, I'd fucking try it. Why not? But it's all gone, so I don't even have to worry about that. No temptation. It's fantastic. I'll take that any day of the week.
But then going back into it, so my sub recommendation will just stick with Mystery Science Theater 3000. It'll just be a TV episode. It was episode's called The Final Sacrifice, which is about a Canadian cult. And the hero is just like a fatter Canadian Kenny Powers.
Oh my God.
Former co-host of the show, Derek, when I was living with him, like we both watched that together and we were fucking laughing our asses off. It is so fucking bad and so good at the same time. I mean, it's one of those movies in which like, goddamn, Mystery Science Theater 3000, like it's perfect for them.
Yeah. Well, this movie that they covered, what was it called again?
This Island Earth.
Oh, no, not This Island Earth, but this Canadian cult leader.
The Final Sacrifice.
The Final Sacrifice. So does that have
$1,600 to make?
Jesus Christ. My God, it's the original Blair Witch. But does that have anything to do with that cult leader that the last pod guys were talking about, the Rocktario guy? Do you think it's based? Okay.
No. So the movie came out in 1990. So I think it might have been before that dude's time. I'm not even sure.
All right.
It's about it's just the stereotypical air quote cult. They just have hooded figures in the woods.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. They sacrificed one cat, that had rabies, so it had to be put down anyway. And, they were responsible cult members. Mm-hmm. Canada, they're far more responsible than we are. I just got to say.
Can't even go in there right now. They won't let you in. I've tried.
No, because they fucking stick to policies. But hey, we need to get off the fucking woke list. So, yeah. Yep. I'll talk bad about Canada on the next episode. Which will be nothing but probably compliments. I've been there. I fucking love them. They're all so wonderful.
They are very nice.
Even when they're pissed off, they're still fucking great. Like God. All right. So my third and final, and I have a couple honorable mentions a little bit later, but Sasquatch, and hear me out. So this is on Hulu, and it's done by an investigative journalist, David Holthouse, who, if you could imagine Quentin Tarantino with all of his quirks, same facial structure, but 6'7".
Oh boy.
That is this guy. Fit as a fiddle, but just a very odd character. And he is so goddamn interesting. Like his backstory alone, like you get a little bit of it before like it all starts. It's like, yeah, you have to turn it on and you have to be down with a little bit of Bigfoot shit. But like this guy infiltrated white power organizations, like Latin gangs in Los Angeles back in the day, like in the 90s kind of a deal, etc. Like, and once again, I've already given you that visual, like Tarantino, but 6'7", and like as many quirks, same thing, similar mannerisms, like just a big fucking dude though, and just as eclectic. But like, his first story, and I'm actually going to get into the documentary eventually, but like it's all about him. Like that's what actually drew us things. Lisa and I turned it on, my wife, and we were like, okay, what the fuck is this really going to be about? Like, all right. And then like you get a little bit of this guy's backstory, and that is what hooked us into it. But like his first story that he wrote and that he published, I couldn't tell you which publication it went into, but it was basically him explaining how he's been plotting to murder someone for years. And how he's planned it out and the whole bit. This someone sexually abused him as a child.
Oh, boy.
And he decided against it in the end. But just like really powerful shit. You know, he's very upfront about everything and like all of the stuff that he's done. And it's great. But anyways, Bigfoot. This whole thing is actually a murder mystery. That it was like a double or triple homicide up in Humboldt in California. You know, so like if anybody has seen the Murder Mountain documentary, same area, same kind of a thing, you know, it was, you know, probably it was marijuana related, you know, big, you know, pushing out a lot of fucking pot and like there's a lot of money involved. So people die.
As we know, with marijuana, it's the deadliest drug.
Oh, the deadliest. I mean, let me tell you, dude. I mean, I had a friend, ate himself to death.
Yeah. Yep.
Dude, the second he died, it was just endless shit. We had to throw him out back. It was over. It was bad. But this is basically this guy, this investigative journalist. He was, you know, like back in the day, he decided to go and work on a pot farm in Humboldt, you know, up in the hills, you know, like just the middle of nowhere. And he was sitting down, like watching TV with the farm owner and a bunch of the farm hands, and they're hanging out. Somebody busts in the door and they're like, 2-3 dudes are dead. Their body parts are scattered all over the fucking farm. It was a fucking squatch. It's a fucking Sasquatch that did this shit, like freaking the fuck out and like really intense about the whole thing. And apparently there had already been little stories floating around that, yes, like there was a Sasquatch problem out that way. Like, you know, disrupting operations, like, you know, they get big boulders to be thrown at people and shit, but a Sasquatch killed these guys. So this investigative journalist, David Holthouse, once again, decides to kind of, you know, I guess he had like a lull or something and he just wanted to kind of do something different. And he decides to go investigate this to see like, okay, was this, you know, was it a Sasquatch? Like, I don't fucking know. But like 3 guys are dead and they were torn limb from limb and scattered all over this fucking pot farm. And big point, none of the weed was stolen. So it's like, all right. So it's got a little bit of legs to it, but it's him retracing everything, speaking to old contacts. My Lord, do you get a fucking cast of characters, real people that they get on camera. I do not know why they show their faces.
Because they're fucking high.
Yeah, well, there's that too. I mean, there was one guy who was called like Ghost Dance and he's white, but either way, wonderful, wonderful thing because it is like back to true crime. This is a murder. True crime documentary, you know, about 3 people that were pulled limb from limb and so on. And so this guy is, he goes back into the shit kind of a deal, you know, starts speaking to all of his old contacts, starts to kind of figure out what actually happened and so on and so forth. I'm not going to spoil any endings. I don't know if it was a Sasquatch. I don't know if it was a cartel. I don't know if it was just local folks being pissed off about something, but a bunch of dudes got torn apart. And none of their weed was stolen. This guy gets the fucking bottom of it, and he's still the main draw. It's absolutely fantastic. And I'll put it this way. If you don't give a fuck about Sasquatch, doesn't matter. Watch this. If you like true crime, watch it. You're going to love it. And I'm dead serious about that.
Sold me on that one too, John. All right. I'll do it. I just would imagine that the first person at the scene, he's like, oh my God, there's fucking limbs and legs all over the place. It's definitely a Sasquatch. It's like, how much weed have you smoked? A lot. That doesn't fucking matter.
I smoked all the sativa. That was a fucking mistake. I'm hyped right now.
I'm super hyped, but my brain's functioning at a faster level than it ever has before, and there's a bunch of fucking legs and limbs everywhere. I saw 7 limbs, which means that there's at least 1 missing. Where is it?
So you get a little bit of that too. And I will say one of the strengths of this is one of these documentaries that for dramatic reenactments, they go the animated route.
Ah, that's fun too. I always love those.
You don't get any of that cheesy bullshit. What did you say, Sar?
Especially if it's just the theme itself is kind of light. If they throw in some animation with it, like I'm on board. I love it.
Yeah. But like some of these fucking these old school pot farmers, like I've met some of those guys out this way and they're scary. Like even the hippies, it's just like, oh yeah, no man, peace, love and everything. But I'll fucking bite your dick off, dude. Don't fuck with me. I mean, they're all, whoo, they all got like not the 2,000 yard stare, but they got the 500-foot stare. They're still looking through you. They don't actually see you. It's scary.
They're not afraid to use a wire around the throat.
No. But speaking of that, like, yeah, going with the full like garrote and all that, with suffocating or killing somebody with a fucking, guitar string kind of a deal there. They do go through some of the pot farm defense like mechanisms or like, just defenses they put up. The one that stuck with me is that they will
Sorry.
Well, no. So there could be a pizza involved at the end, but they put up fish hooks on the thinnest fishing line that they can get. And they put those hooks at eye level.
Oh, no.
So if you walk towards the pot farm, your eyeball is going to get hooked by a fucking barbed fishing hook. So like shit like that. So this is not a light documentary, although it doesn't go into anything super fucking crazy dark, but it's real. It's very real. It's, it's from the streets, dude.
Fishing hooks, man.
Fuck that, dude. I've pulled a hook out of my fucking hand before because I've cut another one out, and sometimes you got to cut it out. Shit fucking sucks.
I heard a story about a baseball coach growing up that their team was like they kept on like pulling their head up on ground balls. So in order for them to stop doing that, he tied fish hooks from the bill of their hat to their fucking dick. So if they pulled their head up, it would just go whoop.
Oh,
it's like, yeah, now you're gonna keep your head down on a goddamn ground ball now, aren't you?
So he's in jail?
I mean, this is the early mid 90s, so he probably got applauded for it. I'm sure the team, honestly. I'm sure the team did better at ground balls. That documentary kind of reminds me of another recommendation before you go into yours, which is what I should have mentioned earlier. I totally forgot about it until you mentioned it. It's McMillions, which was on HBO. It's about the whole McDonald's,
Oh, yeah.
Monopoly
that our entire
scandal.
Fucking childhood was a goddamn fucking lie, Max.
It was
our entire childhood. We were never going to win Monopoly. Fuck that. That makes me so angry.
And they get it. They get into how they were able to get away with it.
I'm still mad.
Yep. Interesting stuff.
And McDonald's and Safeway now have the fucking balls to still push out a fucking...
They make so much fucking money off of that. And they talk about that too.
I know they fucking do.
No, they got fucking robbed from this, but it doesn't matter because they made so much goddamn money. It doesn't mean anything. They're still going to do it anyway. It's like, yeah, this could be completely fake. Who cares?
No, I mean, it's absolute genius. They were able to create a legal casino with no geographical location. I mean, it's amazing. It's fucking amazing.
Impressive stuff. All right. So what are your honorable mentions?
So honorable mentions, Love, Death, and Robots on Netflix. Definitely going to be somewhat of a sci-fi slant for folks who like sci-fi, but also a little bit of horror, but also some action. It's all an anthology series, short stories. So like episodes average 12 to 15 minutes an episode kind of a thing. First season, a lot longer than the second season, which just came out. I do highly recommend starting in the first season because that is what I believe they will end up coming back to as far as the sheer just number of episodes and short stories that they provide, and being able to go full spectrum from okay, we're fighting, the old school, kind of mummy monster or something to where it turns out there's fucking werewolf soldiers in Afghanistan, all the way to, a live action thing. And I will say a lot of this is animated, in various fashions. So you've got your real 3D animation, Western animation, Eastern, Japanese animation, stereotypically kind of a deal. But some live acting, but once again, going from all that weird shit that I said up to live actors that discover that there's an entire miniature civilization living inside of their freezer that goes through and it goes through the the Stone Age all the way to the nuclear age, and guess what, maybe they nuke themselves, go figure, and then everything starts back over. But you've got everything you could possibly want. If you don't like a short story, move on to the next one, no big deal. But definitely watch the first one, move into the second one if you like it. Great. It's going to be giving us just lots of wonderful original ideas, and I hope that some of these things turn into movies over the years. And I mean full feature length, because wonderful content, wonderful stories, wonderful artistry, and I mean it's wonderful.
Go.
No. Go.
So what kind of got me interested in it, besides you just talking about it, was that David Fincher is one of the executive producers of it. So I'm like, all right, if David Fincher has his hand in it, I'm going to have to check it out.
Yeah. And it's just fantastic. I mean, like, put it this way, like, if you like anything, like, I don't know, like horror aside, but you did watch VHS, regardless if you're into horror, and like you liked all those little, snippets of like, okay, it's in the genre, but not
Black Mirror.
quite. Yeah, exactly. Black Mirror. That's another one that works out very, very well. If you like any of those, if you like short stories, if you like something that's bite-sized, like, check this out. And I myself didn't even get into it, except I was stuck on a business flight, for like 6 hours. It's like, what am I going to do? There you go. Downloaded them all, tried it, pleasantly surprised. My second honorable mention is actually specifically for you, Max, because I was thinking about how much you enjoy and love practical effects.
Yeah.
This is a British film, probably came out when we were either in middle school or high school, as once again, we're youngins, we're kids, and we're just those fucking millennials, but Dog Soldiers.
Okay. I've heard of it. Haven't seen it.
It's so bad. It's good.
Okay. All right.
But it's basically it's like British SAS in the woods, and they get sent by British intelligence, like into the woods. It's like in Scotland or some shit, to go find something. And they were supposed to be there really just as a training exercise. Turns out, werewolves. But the director was very adamant that everything was to be practical effects. So
That's
it stands
awesome.
up.
Love it.
Now, the practical effects are fantastic. It's just a bunch of SAS special forces, Brit killers just hanging out, like, batting down inside of a big house, defending against this shit. Super cool. But it really comes down to just the actors. You'll recognize a lot of them. I don't know their fucking names. You have to watch it. You'll recognize them when you see them, but they are hilarious in their own very serious way. They're still funny as fuck. Totally worth your time. Have a few drinks. If you smoke weed, smoke some weed. I don't know. Do what you got to do. Totally worth just enjoying yourself, and turn it on. Do not take it seriously. There's even a fantastic, like, one of my favorite, like, jacking off jokes ever came from this movie, where it's like they're trying to talk about werewolves, and they're like, well, maybe they don't need to actually turn into werewolves if they don't want to. And he's like, it's kind of like, you're really horny, and like, you don't pinch one off right there. Like, you wait until you get somewhere. You don't just like do it right in front of everybody, kind of a thing. But like, really, really, really good, dark humor, wonderful actors for British military, and I think it's fantastic. It's really a lot of fun.
Werewolves,
really,
big.
really a lot of fun. Yeah.
It's a big boy.
Yeah, he fucking is.
It's like the Predator. Thing's like 10 feet tall.
Yeah, dude. It's fucking crazy. So,
Okay.
and there's a good there's a little bit of it's a good twist at the end as well. So, worth your time if you can find it. I don't know what it's streaming on. You probably got to rent it these days, but we burned through everything that the world has to offer at this point after the pandemic. So, here's one that nobody was thinking about.
Good. All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up here. We said 3, we gave you like 12. We hope you liked our picks. If not, fuck you.
Yeah, well, just email us and tell us how shitty we are, and then you'll end up listening anyway, so it's fine.
That's right. And we'll be back next week with another mini ep. We already recorded it. It's going to be a little bit of an appetizer for what's going to be coming up next for our next limited series. Actually, I'll give another recommendation then. Bigger, Faster, Stronger, which is a documentary about America's fascination with steroids and that whole culture. That's pretty much what our entire upcoming series is going to be about. So I guess you can watch that one too if you want.
Yeah, it could be fun. It could be fun. But I will stick by my eventual future declaration on whenever episode comes out. But I think that all sports steroids should be legal, but not only legal, but mandated.
They should have a steroid league. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. Or it could be on the side, but let's face it, everybody's going to be watching the steroids. I want to see a football player have a fucking meltdown on the field and beat someone to death with a helmet. That's what I'm looking for. We are slowly inching our way towards full gladiator arenas. And I want to get there.
I want to see 120 mile per hour fastball get hit 490. Actually, no, 400 is less. I want to see that thing get hit like 650 feet. Deep
Fuck
center.
yeah, dude.
Just break a fucking, skyscraper across the street that they weren't expecting to ever get a baseball hit. Do that. Yep, but that's it. We'll be back next week. Bye.
We'll see y'all. Deuces, fuckers.
Bye-bye.